Persona non grata, a novel of the Roman Empire, by Ruth Downie, narrated by Simon Vance. Copyright 2009 by Ruth Downie. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with Ruth Downie and Inkwell Management, and was produced in the year 2009 by Tantor Media Incorporated, which holds the copyright thereto. Chapter 1. Justinus was lying in the stinking dark of the ship's hold, bruised and beaten, feeling every breath twist hot knives in his chest. The light that trickled in through the worrying gaps in the hull showed the angle of the ladder above him. Beyond it, thin bright lines betrayed the position of the hatch. He remembered the slam and the rattle of the bolts. Now he heard the sharp yell of a reprimand over the thumps and footfalls up on the deck of the Pride of the South, a ship that could hardly have been less appropriately named. Whatever they were up to, it seemed he didn't need to die for it. If they planned to kill him, they could simply have thrown him overboard. Perhaps they would maroon him on a remote island somewhere while they sailed off to enjoy spending his master's money. He would eat berries, spear fish, and wait to be rescued. Sooner or later he would return home, thinner and browner, and with a well-rehearsed apology to his master. He forced himself into a sitting position just as the ship heeled to starboard. Cold bilge that should not have been near the cargo sloshed over his legs. Beneath him he felt the stacked amphorae slide out of position and begin to tip and roll with the movement of the ship. Dark shapes swarmed out from among them and ran squealing along the sides of the hold. "Hey!" he shouted, grasping at the ladder to steady himself and wincing at the pain in his chest. "Captain!" No response. "Petreius!" He banged on the ladder with his fist before he shouted the words that should bring the crew running. "The cargo's shifting!" There was a muffled shout from above, then something thudding against the side of the ship, scurrying feet, and the bark of orders. Between the other sounds, he was almost certain he could hear waves breaking on a shore near enough to swim to. "Hey!" Struggling over the rolling necks of the amphorae, he pressed his face against a gap in the planking of the hull. Outside he could see nothing but brilliant blue. He crawled back and smashed two of the loose amphorae against each other. Nothing happened. He heaved one up. Thank God, for some reason this one was empty and relatively light, and swung it against the other. The heavy pottery cracked. Praying he could make a gap big enough to escape from before the seas started pouring in, he began using a broken handle to batter ineffectually at the worm-eaten hull. "Let me out!" When he stopped to catch his breath, he heard footsteps retreating across the deck. There was a series of small bumps against the hull before the shout of an order and the irregular splash of rowers getting into rhythm. After that, there was nothing but the creaking of wood and the slop of water. Moments later he smelled the burning. For a moment he could make no sense of it. Then, ignoring the pain in his chest, he took a deep breath and shouted through the gap, "You bastards! Get me out!" Only the sound of water, the scuffle of a rat. "Fire! Don't leave me here!" Still no reply. The Pride lurched violently, rolling him up the inside of the hull and drenching him with more cold water as the amphorae crashed and tumbled around him. "Don't leave me!" Smoke was seeping down into the hold, forming ghostly fingers in the thin shafts of light. The water was rising. The Pride was listing badly now, as if she was settling down on her side to sleep. "Help me!" he screamed, the pain stabbing his chest with every movement as he struggled to get upright. He cried out in panic as he felt himself slip down toward the water. Seconds later he came to rest against a fallen amphora. An expanse of long, pale cylinders was shifting about in front of him. He realized suddenly that every one of them was empty. That was why they were all bobbing about on the surface of the bilge. The cargo he had authorized and seen loaded had vanished, probably while Petreius had been buying him drinks back in Arelate the night before they sailed. One of the amphorae gurgled and sank out of sight. The others rolled in and closed over the gap. Justinus shut his